Zoom. There we go. Okay, I'm seeing straw hat suggestions. So this is what we're gonna do. Front under the chin. Okay, this is like a real problem-solving session. All right. Ooh. Resist the temptation to do a tribute to Jackson Crawford here. Yeah. Dogs are having a good time out there. Hi, dogs. YouTube, welcome. We're in a different location today. We're coming at you from Lima, Peru, and we are about to start, or rather continue, our work on the Historical Linguistics Challenge A. Imagine I'm drawing an A there. So let's get started. Let's get into the Google Sheet, shall we? Over to the side webcam. Zoom. There we go. Okay, so you can see what I've been working on. I have gone a little intense, and let's see if I can arrange these windows properly. There we go. And what I've done is I've made a complete list of the correspondences for all of the consonants. So there are all the consonants there, and then all of the different tones in languages F, G, and H, and then I've started on the vowels as well. And based on all this, I've made some preliminary reconstructions. I haven't done the vowels for all of them yet, so I thought today we can sort of finish this job and sort of do what I haven't yet done, or correct what I have done wrong. So, Satan, you're right. This challenge, this really has been keeping me up nights. I have to say, it's a challenging one. I don't think I have the complete answer yet, but let's see what we do have. So, for those of you who haven't seen this, it probably won't make a ton of sense if you haven't seen the start of this, but I'll do a brief recapitulation of what we're doing here. So, our lovely Discord community, and by the way, if you're not in the Discord, come to the Discord. It's great. Link in the description. Our lovely Discord community has put together a challenge for me and for us. And what it is a family of conlangs. So we were given, this is what we were given. So all these lovely colorful columns. So we have 30 cognate sets in 8 different languages. And our task is to reconstruct a plausible proto-language for these. And then at the end of today, I think, hopefully, we'll be able to check it against the actual proto-language. And so thank you very much to Satan and the rest of Team A for putting this together. It turned out to be a real challenge. But, I'm seeing lots of straw hat suggestions. All right. Well, I'll wear the straw hat and we'll see how long I can keep it on for. I don't know if does the string go at the front or the back, or I don't know. So this is what we're gonna do. This is dusty hat. I should have cleaned this off first. All right, so where were we? Did I consult the Discord copy? I have not. Front under the chin. Okay, so there we go. I've not looked on Discord, so I've not seen the official answers. But here's what I've got so far, and maybe it's best for us to just sort of go over this. I think I might need to zoom in a bit, actually. The big problem areas. So one of the big problem areas is the consonant, the reconstruction of the consonants. And I won't walk you through and bore you with all of the thought process that I went into over the last week. It's summarized here. And maybe what I can do is share this link so that you can jump in and look. Let's share. Nice loading wheel there. Always a classic. And then we can let anyone with the link see, copy that, and let's see where, there we go. Lucy, would you mind sending that link to the chat? Okay. So what's next? So I came up with these proto-consonants. Get this out of the way. And I gave them kind of cover terms. So F1, these are kind of algebraic stand-ins for whatever the value was, because at the start I didn't really have strong ideas. And so things like, I gave them sort of my best guess, things like K1, K2, and K3. So these are things that seemed like velar stops of some variety, or stops or fricatives that wasn't quite clear. And so I called them K1, K2, and K3. And I lined up all of the correspondences rather here, and saw, in word 10, so this is how to read this little spreadsheet. In word 10, so we go over to word 10, which is something like, my reconstruction is something like Sankara, or Sankara. And I looked at this velar that shows up. And it's a k in branch A, it's a k in branch B, it's a g in branch C, it's a g in branch D, and so on. And I wrote them down across here, and then tried to come up with some patterns. And the patterns they're always exceptions. Well, not always, but they're often exceptions, because sometimes there are contextual changes. Things are not always going to show up exactly the same. So for example, here we have a correspondence set for this K1 proto-consonant, which looks like going from A to E, K, K, G, G, K. And then we see it again as K, K, G, K, K. And we see it again as glottal stop, null, G, and then this J fricative. So the question is, we aren't given these K terms. We have to come up with them. So if we don't have these at all, if we just delete these and we delete this, how do we know what things group together in the proto-language and what don't? And so we have to kind of sort out what the regularities are. And so my attempt of doing that is in this tab, which is labeled CO in the Google Doc if you're following along, for correspondences. I was on a small screen, so I had to make the names pretty short so I could easily see what I was doing. And I just went through all the consonants and did that, and then made my best guess as to which were the sort of the unmodified reflexes of each sound in the daughter languages, and which weren't. And so when I could find a plausible reason for something to have shown up differently than in other words, I made up a rule. And so let's take a look at the rules. So this is what I've been working on. And I have a long list of rules that will derive each of these languages from the proto-language that I've reconstructed so far. And it's incomplete. But basically, this is what we're looking at. And so if you're in the Google Sheet, you can check it out as well. When I found something that looked like an exception to the regular outcome of a sound, and I could explain it with a rule, I put that sound in blue in the correspondences chart. And when I could not find a plausible explanation for it, or haven't done so yet, I put it in red. And so the reds are still mysteries to me, although some of them may be simpler to solve than others. And so that's the overall picture. So I came up with these sort of algebraic stand-in consonants like K1, K2, L, which looks like a lateral of some kind, N, which looks like a coronal nasal of some kind, and it's like P1 and P2. What are these? Are these sort of a voicing contrast? Is this an aspiration contrast? I don't know yet. And so I came up with all of these, and then I looked at how they showed up in the daughter languages. And based on that, I came up with some reconstructions. as to what the values of these might be. And I put them into two columns, confident and speculative. I think maybe some of the ones that I was confident about, maybe I shouldn't be as confident about, especially the voicing pairs of the stop series. So I have K1 is K and K2 is G. And so I've come up with this kind of inventory, which I think looks slightly weird, and it makes me not have as much faith in it, but we can suss that out together now, perhaps. So this is, I think, our first task, is to look at this inventory and say, is this something that looks plausible, or is this something that looks a bit wonky? So we have, if we look, let's just make a little inventory chart. So we have some stops, we have some fricatives, we have some nasals. I don't know why that's bold. And I'm on a different computer here, so bear with me if things don't go in the right spot. And we have, what else do we have? We have some, let's just put, oh yeah, we need lateral fricatives. And then we have liquids, glides. Okay. And then let's put labials, coronals, and then let's say velar and uvular across here. This is a Latin American keyboard, and some of the keys are in the I don't say the wrong places, but not the places I'm looking for them. So coronal, labial. I guess I don't have to abbreviate these because they're kind of big. So okay, what do we have? We have something like pa, ba, for the stops in the labial series. We have, I know it's not the click, 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 clack, clack, clack of my mechanical keyboard at home. And we have t. We don't have d, which I think is an indication that I might be wrong about this reconstruction. But we have t and t, and so we have the regular voiceless t and the aspirated t, and then in the velars we have k, g, and k. So I think there's something incorrect about this reconstruction so far, but when I looked at each series on its own, these are the values that suggested themselves. And then we have a uvular qa. Then for fricatives, we have something like, we have s, sh. We have the lateral fricative hl. And do we have any other fricatives? I don't think so. Then we have la, ra, and we have wa and ya. We'll call this palatal or velar, just to save a column. And what else? Have I missed anything? No, I don't think so. Oh, and the nasals, right. So we have ma, na, and nga. Although I doubt that velar nasal is phonemic, because it only shows up before velar stops. Okay, so that's basically the inventory that I've reconstructed. I think that there's something wrong with the stop series, because we have a voicing distinction in labials, we have an aspiration distinction in coronals, and we have the whole series here in palatals and velars. Oh, thank you. You have correctly pointed out that I was missing the dental fricative th. Thanks, Quinn. Yeah, deluxe tux. That's a tough one. What word is that? Let's go over to the. So I think that's word 7. my solution, as you can see, I also have trouble with this because I put it in red. My solution for this is not done. So when we get back to the vowels, we can probably work on this again. Oh, I feel kind of cool with this hat on, I have to say. I don't know. Okay. So let's see what else. Let's go back to our inventory. So I would love your thoughts on this inventory. And we can dig into why I made any of the decisions that I made. I think that's probably a good thing for us to do, especially around these stops. So maybe we should look. Let's look first at the labial series of stops and see what the correspondences look like. So here's what we have, and we can put up the. Yeah, there we go. We can put up the words side by side so we can consult both. This is like a real problem-solving session. All right. Oop. I'm going to do my resist the temptation to do a tribute to Jackson Crawford here. I won't do it. Yeah, the dogs. Dogs are having a good time out there. So say hi, dogs. There you go. Yeah. All right. So where were we? So we have, I think, 2 labial stops based on the following patterns. We have okay. So it's mainly based on the difference between this row here in 3, and so this environment I should probably explain. There's a lot to explain. So here we have this this consonant showing up after a vowel and before whatever this consonant T1 is, and here we have a similar situation where it's preceded by a vowel and followed by a consonant T2. And actually, that's a better example. So let's look at line 53 here, which comes from word 5. So this is this Yuhlos word, which shows up where we have the relevant consonant showing up as a glottal stop. And then we see the same thing showing up as a P in C, D, and E. And then, excuse me, my stomach is rumbling. And my meal times are all off here, I have to say. It's not much jet lag, but even so, I had a red-eye flight, and so my whole time of day is messed up. Okay, so in 5 we have this correspondence of glottal stop versus P. Let's just look at the first 5 branches to simplify things, and we can. That desk has a metal sheet there that I didn't know about. Okay, so we have the glottal stop P correspondence, which is what we see here. And then in 7, we see what looks like the same series. But here we see it showing up as, so we have a vowel first, and then we have this lateral fricative in branch A. And we see it showing up as P. And we have P, B, P. And then we have the P metallicizing way off to the left in branch D, and then P in here. So we don't have, the big difference is we don't have it going to a glottal stop before this consonant that gives us a lateral fricative in branch A, and so, which I've called T2 as a sort of cover term. And so based on that, I've hypothesized two different labial stops. And the natural distinction that occurred to me would be one of voicing. But that's not by any means the only potential explanation. But if it is, then we'd have a situation perhaps where P1 represents the voiceless stop, and all of our voiceless stops debuccalize and go to glottal stops before, well, among other things, the lateral fricative. And the voice stops, or the P2 series, whatever that is, do not. And so that's the idea there. As for why P1 is P and P2 is B, that is a grayer area, and that's probably something that we should investigate, because we actually see both P and B for both. So in our P1s, which have this patterning, we have some B's showing up and some P's showing up. And in P2, it's the same situation. So we have P's and B's. And so to sort this out, I have, let's go back up to our changes. We can sort of highlight the, I don't know if I can highlight it, but here I have the rule. So we all of our voiceless stops, in fact, go to glottal stop before the end of a syllable, in a coda position. And, which is my little, this is how I'm symbolizing that, in coda position. So when syllable final. And then after that, we have B becoming P in certain circumstances, such as before so for those who are not hip to the scene, that is the sound of the ice cream delivery. Yeah, so enjoy that. Right, so we have, thank you. That's really great. See, that's not what I'm used to for the ice cream truck, you know? I'm used to this, this, you know, that sort of thing with the little van going around the neighborhood. That's what it was like when I was a kid. We didn't have this business, but that is just part of the charm. Okay, so this is the analysis. Basically, if we look at line 7, A7 here, we can see the voiceless stops debuccalizing in syllable final position, and then the voiceless version devoicing before the lateral fricative and at the start of a word, which I don't know if I love that rule. So why make it the voiceless version that debuccalizes? Well, we have this similar patterning going on with stops at all places of articulation. So if we look at, where is it? If we look in the coronal places of articulation, we also see that T1, when word final or before a consonant, also turns into a glottal stop. So that's right here, lines 82 and 83, and line 87. So we see it with the labials, we see it with the coronals, and we also see it with the dorsals. So we see here in lines 16 to 18, we see K1 also debuccalize. And it looks to me like we have a sort of a general pattern here. We have some kind of stops turning into glottal stops, so losing their place of articulation when at the end of a syllable, including at the end of a word. And then we have other ones that don't. And so in the velars, we seemingly have the need for 3. We have ones that debuccalize in coda position, ones that don't, and ones that affricate in branch A. And so to capture that sort of three-way distinction, I've posited K1, K2, and K3. And given that we have one that aspirates into K, it seems to me like that would be potentially a, what's it called? Sorry, one that affricates, we think it might be an aspirated stop. So K. And indeed, it does show up as aspirated in branch E. And it seems to me that going from an aspirated stop to a fricative is more likely than the other way around. So that's what I'm thinking there. Chat, am I onto something? Am I totally off? The argument against this analysis, I think, is that it requires weird rules like b devoices in word initial position, which I'm not totally in love with. It's not the weirdest rule in the world, but it's a bit strange. And we have it in branch A and we have it in branch B. So we have b devoicing in initial position. It seems to me like something that was voiceless is more likely to voice, say, after a vowel. There could be a P3. That's the thing. There could be a P3. In fact, I was kind of looking for a P3, and I was thinking maybe it's one of these ones that I've called F1. So these are an interesting correspondence set. We have them showing up as dental fricatives in A and D. We have them showing up as labials in B and C, labial fricatives. And we have them showing up as a coronal stop in E, or a fricative, or sorry, affricate. So, and then there's this weird on-glide in C as well, but we don't have to worry so much about that. So what I was thinking here is kind of like in some varieties of English, you have dental fricatives like the, which get turned into labials, v. That is potentially what happened here. That would explain the fact that we have both dental fricatives and labial fricatives, and dental stops as well. It seems to me that the thing that can go to both of those relatively easily is a dental fricative. But if this were a p, how would we get j and d and th and the from it easily? Especially, in the case of 14. Oops, 14. So this is something that in branch A shows up as thakne, and in branch B is vagne, and in branch C is fa. So if this is reconstructed as something like, I don't know, pakne, how are we going to get fa from, well, no, fa, that's easy. How are we going to get thakne? We don't have any motive for dissimilating in this word if it's pakne. We don't have any, and then it would have to happen in branches A and D, which don't seem to have a lot of other changes in common. Ah, Gustavo, thank you. This is a found hat. No, well, more or less. I was given the run of the hats of the house because there was some talk of needing a hat for this stream, and so essentially what happened is I asked, are there any hats around? And then here are the hats. Here are all the hats that I was given, and this is the one that the chat has suggested. So I'll keep it this way because it's a bit dusty on top. Yeah, so that's the problem. Those are the problems I can see with having p as the sound for F1. Okay. So we've thrown down the gauntlet. This is our job to figure out what's going on. I'm going to do a cut for YouTube here. Now that we're all reacquainted, we can make some more progress. So I'll go back onto here. And YouTube. I'm very glad that you've joined us today. I feel super cool right now. Come back. What's the phrase? Come back soon. Like and subscribe. All of that good jazz. And we will do some more. We've got some more historical conlang for you.